We're rolling out from Crust Pizza. I'm already in the distance there, because there always seems to be a hesitation when it's time to go. Riding time is precious. It's 7:33. It's time to go. On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton, rode directly into the woodlands. We picked up Team RR once we got to Crust Pizza. We headed out on Research Forest, and then we left them because they decided to wait, and we just kept going. WCC came along. You can see the pace was high. We let them go at the overpass. Then Paul and I went east. We did Highland Hollow Hills. We went and did the Sand Jack Hill as well. Then we went across the lake, and we filmed that stretch all the way on 1097 into the forest. We continued to film until we got to 149 there. Then off camera, we did Bailey Grove to 1097 back through Montgomery. It was very windy and breezy at that point. We had to stop because I had a mechanical. I got a bunch of flaps, so it was time to retire my Victoria tires. Once they get to a certain point, you start getting frequent flats. It's time for a new tire. So we headed back on Honia, Egypt, our favorite road, back into the woodlands. It was a very, very good ride. But I tell you what, we got some good clips because the guys at WCC were hammering. We're going to be joining them next week and sitting into Honia. So we're leaving the parking lot. I'm already on the road in the distance. I'm going across the intersection right now. That's me in an orange jersey with the light flashing. I'm ready to ride. Didn't get a chance to do any long rides this week. Busy with other things. So Saturday, it's time to do it. So at this point, we are excited about going on a ride. We don't know that there's going to be some impromptu stop. Apparently, there must have been a communication between Mark, who set up the ride, and Mike Weingrad. Mike Weingrad's late, and Mark is going to take the group to Aldi and make them wait for Mike. Paul and I just keep riding because that's just nonsense. You don't make 12 or 15 guys wait for one guy. He wants to ride with the group. He shows up on time, or he rides alone. That's the way the cycling group etiquette works. It's one thing if you show up at a ride and you have a mechanical, yeah, we'll wait for you. But you don't leave home on time and we're gonna wait for you, that's not gonna happen. We start our day 5:30 in the morning. We ain't coming out here to wait at 7:30 for somebody who couldn't get their butt out of bed. The man's 10 minutes by bike from the ride start. From Aldi, wherever they end up waiting. He's right down the street. He can't get there on time. You don't make the group wait. So we just took off. You'll see it. Don't let groups waste your time. They don't want to ride, leave them. Go ride. You can do the same effort, whatever your plan is. We already have a plan. You can ride solo if you must, but don't let them waste your cycling time. Cycling, all time is precious. Cycling time is even more precious. So remember that. In a few kilometers, we're going to come across another group of riders that used to ride with these guys, Davis and some other ladies, and then Bob is riding with them. They're up the road. We catch up with them at the light right here where you see in the distance. This is Egypt Lane, and we're going towards 1488 here. So we're going to catch up with them. And what I want to point out is that because of the different skill levels in groups, you must always be vigilant when you're riding. Do not allow yourself to get distracted, especially around other cyclists. And the same vigilance that you use around other cyclists, you need to use that around all the other road users, cars, motorcycles, whatever's out there. Dogs, you got to be alert. And you will see, I'll do a replay and show you. It's not anything against the person, but her skill level is such that. This is the lady in front of me, I believe, right there in the blue, the multicolored blue and light sky blue jersey. I think her name's Kim. You know, she didn't do anything intentional. She just has a different skill level, so you got to watch out for those kind of things, and you'll see how I handle it. And she apologized and everything for it, but which is fine. I didn't have time to, acknowledge it. I was too busy reacting and making sure neither of us had any mishap. So right here, Mark announced turning in Aldi. That's the first we hear about it. You see me point? I tell Paul we're going. Right there, watch it. Look at that. I don't know what she was doing. Watch that. See? She's in a big gear, and so she's weaving, and she apologized. But those are the things you must watch out for. There happened to be no car coming in the other lane, so I just used my hips and I moved over. You must be alert around other cyclists because you got different things going on. It's not just her skill level, but people are doing things and so forth that you need to be more aware of them when you ride solo. They stopped in Aldi, as I said earlier. He announced as we went through the intersection, we're stopping in Aldi. We left them there. So at this point here, we're on Fishcreek Blvd. You hear Davis. Davis used to ride with us.
That's right.
So what she said is, Eldred and I are cut from the same cloth. She said, I do not wait for people who are late. It's kind of rude to have a whole group wait for one person who didn't take the ride seriously enough to show up on time. You don't show up on time. When I got into cycling, you will be riding alone or you're going to be chasing. We used to chase. Ride hard and catch up to the group at some point, because sometimes they might catch a light or whatever. And that still goes on here. Jerry's always chasing us down and so forth and so on. But to pull a group into another point on the ride to wait for someone when he's 10 minutes by bike away from where you're waiting, he needs to be on time or he rides alone. So Paul and I took off. And Davis was one of the riders that lady that almost bumped me was riding with. And so they're further back, but Davis is on Paul's wheel. And we're riding up, and Bob is in the distance. He took off, ahead of the group before they were ready to go. But we don't have time to sit around waiting. I get up to go ride, not to wait around. Before you know it, it eats into your day. 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. Before you know it, you've lost almost 45 minutes to an hour waiting on people for different reasons. We'll wait for you if you got a mechanical. When you show up, you have other problems. That's fine. That's reasonable. If it's a mechanical that can't be fixed, you're going to be going back home. But you're not going to hold up our ride. You don't have 12 guys or however many that were in a group waiting for one person. That's rude. I don't care for that. That's how you kill a group. You're not going to encourage people to come out. You're going to be delaying the start of the group. The ride starts at 7:30. You show up or you're going to be chasing. We get up there, we leave at 6:30, an hour before we roll out. We do a loop or whatever, because they're about 40 minutes from us. And we make it a point to get there around 7:30, 7:35. If we miss them, we chase down, get up to it. Nobody waiting for us, please. So they're back there. We didn't see them again. And in a few kilometers, the WCC Racing Club will catch up to us, and we hang on to their wheel up to the overpass. We had to let them go because we're doing a long day. They weren't doing a long day, but they were riding crazy fast. You'll see the kind of watts that we had to put down to stay with them. Davis is on Paul's wheel. I don't know if you get to see her. So the three of us are in front of the group with that lady that almost bumped me, and then Bob is up there. He just kind of took off. He always takes off before the group's ready to go. He's riding with them. And I'm trying to just gradually pull him in so we don't drop Davis, because she's hanging on to Paul here. So I'm keeping the speed steady, because if I did like 45 Ks, she'd probably have problems, But it really got under my skin, the disrespect or disregard for everybody's time, and not just mine or Paul's or whatever. Everybody in that group should have been given more respect and not make them wait for one guy who's late. He's late, tell him to meet you at Taco Corner. Then next time he'll be on time. That was totally unacceptable. So don't let anybody do that to you. Don't let people waste your time. And this is nothing I'm talking about that is just unique to this area. Everybody, every group ride, they have a start time. You show up, you ride with the group. You don't, you're gonna be riding alone, or whoever is late like you are, you all can chase. But you don't call one guy so he can hold up the group. What kind of nonsense is that? And it was even worse to go somewhere else to make the group wait for him, other than the start point. That was even worse. The ride doesn't start at Aldi, it starts at Crust Pizza. It needs to be there. It's one ride. One ride a week. You can't be on time. You don't need to be riding. If you had a job and you were continually late, they'd fire you. And that's not as important as something you truly love doing. So please, put up with that foolishness. So as you can see, we're rolling up the Bob. He's up ahead of us, and we're just Divis, let us go at this point. She was the one that was saying we're cut from the same cloth. She said, yeah, she used to ride with them, and the same kind of foolishness that they do, she stopped showing up. She just rides by herself, and now she's starting her own group with the other ladies, and then Bob joins them sometimes. So that's what happens. You can kill a cycling group based on how you handle it. People get tired of dealing with that stuff. They may not say anything, they just stop coming. I'm not shy. I say what's on my mind. We go through the light right here. Bob pulls off. There he is. He was riding at a pace he could not sustain. He said, hey guys, we just kept going. We're going. We've started our ride. So our intent here now is to go ahead and just ride. At this point, we had not decided where we were going. We're just getting through Fish Creek, and once we get out there, we will decide. But we know we're doing 6.5, 7 hours. In a little bit, I'm gonna see a group in my mirror, and they're coming up like a diesel. I mean, they're coming up like a Ferrari on us. I was like, there's a group back there. I will tell Paul. I think it's after he pulls. Yeah, in a few kilometers. I pull off so he can get up. He's gonna tell me I'm crazy here. I'm smile. Because I'm not letting up. I told him the engine's open. Let's go. I'm a little below sweet spot, and that's okay for 6.5, 7 hours. I don't intend to go much harder than this, but when those guys come up, it's like we push a lot harder than we had planned for a little bit. It's muggy today, guys. It says 19 Celsius. It feels like 24 or more. Just steamy, and usually our first warm days, you're not used to it yet, because like Thursday was cool and dry, and today, Saturday, is warm and muggy. And so I have thermal bottles on my bike with ice in there, ice water, because I just run hot. I don't like the heat that much. I can deal with it, but it's not my favorite time of the year. I like the shoulder seasons and winter. I prefer those. I like the cold better than just extreme hot stuff. I deal with it. I drink more and pour water on myself and so forth, but yeah. So I'm sitting on Paul's wheel, taking a little bit of a breather here, and we're just going, just the two of us, and you can be a group of one. The point I'm making is, if the group is not consistently making sure that you guys get your Ks in timely so you can go on with the rest of your day, ride by yourself. You can control that. I'll go ahead and come to the front. My brother takes the camera. I think in a little bit I'm gonna see this group just in my mirror, just coming up like they got a diesel engine in there. I mean, they were moving. We're doing about 34 kilometers. They were doing almost 40K. So we're doing 22, 23. They're coming up at 25, 26. Yeah, I just told him, I said, a group coming. At first I thought maybe it was the guys that at Aldi, but then these guys were coming up so quickly, and then Paul said he knew it was not them, that it was the WCC Moles group. And you guys will see Maurizio. He would talk to the camera and let us know what his intent is. He said they're out to catch everybody today. They're going to Bailey Grove. So they're probably doing about 70 kilometers or so. Well, maybe more, 67 miles, I believe. So about 90K, maybe. That's their goal. We're doing about 160. There they are.
Good morning.
And that's Christian, that's Peter. I hadn't seen him in a while. We rode together a few weeks ago. And that's Jesus.
Hey. You gotta jump on me.
And so Jerry says to Paul, jump on. I hadn't seen Jerry yet. He's gonna come by. And I'm gonna greet him. And then Mauricio Topotopini on the left there. That's Mo. He's gonna come back to the camera. He asked me, he said, are you guys on? I said, yeah, we're on. Now I want you to look at the watts. It was like the rhythm is like 2 steps faster than we were going. That's what it felt like to me anyway. So he's gonna talk to the camera.
Okay. There are hundreds of people out there. Our goal is to catch them all. Like Pokemon. The Pokemon ride. The
Pokemon ride, that's what Mo says. They're going out to Bailey Grove and their intent is to catch all the cyclists that are out there. You know, first warm day, everybody's riding today. It's just such a lovely day. Even though I said it's warm, it is still very nice. You know, it's not hot. It's humid, you know, more humid than we're used to. So Mo's gonna get in front of myself and the guy in front and go back to his position in the group. That's the way these guys ride, so everybody gets a chance to take their cuts. So we just decided to hang on here for a bit because he asked if we were gonna join in. And we said, okay, let's go with these guys. 2 reasons we joined them. We didn't want to be caught by those guys who were waiting at Aldi just in case Weingrad had shown up and said, hey, the train's here, the train's leaving the station. That's the phrase a lot of cyclists use. The train's leaving the station, jump on board. So we're hanging on to the train. But then we get on there and the rhythm is completely different than what we're doing because remember, I had been up front pulling, Paul had been up front pulling. I stand here because it feels better. Look at the watts. I'm in a slightly larger gear, just keeping a nice rhythm. My body likes that. They were going so fast that right before we pulled out, my legs felt itchy. That's what I told Paul. I said, these guys, you know, so we had to let them go. It was gonna kind of change our plans. We didn't plan on frying our legs. You know, we're going long. They're not going long, but they're just crazy fast. In fact, Paul told me that Christian, who's one of the riders on here, posted his ride on Strava, and he called it Furious. So we're gonna join them next week. We're gonna ride into Honia with them. We should be able to get some good clips. That's our plan. We're gonna go to the Ashland YMCA and pick them up because these guys are serious. They don't mess around. They don't waste the group's time. You're not on time with these guys. You're riding alone. That's it. They ain't gonna be waiting around for nobody. Their ride starts at 7:30. You need to be there. They get there 7:15, 7:10. They spin. Some people ride from home, like Mo. Mo will get up early, ride, then go there and meet them. He gets there on time. Everybody gets there on time because they respect each other's time, and that's what I didn't like about that stop. You can't take for granted that everybody wants to wait for one guy. He's late, too bad. He ain't riding with you that day. He can ride and head out and meet you at Taco Corner if he really wants to join the group. That's the way it should be. That thing's gonna turn off people. Nobody wants to be coming on there waiting on people. You didn't ask nobody if they wanted to wait. Just assume everybody's gonna wait. This guy was pulling, he pulls off. So next week we'll ride with them up into Honia and then we'll go on and do our own thing. You can see I'm putting, look at 500 and some watts in the pace line. You know it's gonna be a long day when you're pushing that hard. These guys don't back off. Road goes up, they continue to ride. So we're cruising at 26, 27 miles an hour. And listen to the wind. I'm using the 5315 and the 5316. For those of you who want to know that those are the 2 gears I'm in. I don't go much bigger than that on this stretch with this terrain. When it's settled like this, I go to the 16. When we need to really go downhill, I go to the 15 and I keep the cadence up. Because you start going bigger than that, then you strain your legs too much. My heart rate had gotten up to 168 beats per minute. Right now it's 163. So it's going down because I've settled into this rhythm. I've gotten used to the rhythm, but at this point, I'm thinking about my wingman Paul, because the overpass is coming. You see my heart rate going down. That's what you get from all the riding we've been doing. 54K, we're moving. 30s, we're in the 30s. I move to the left so I don't have to brake. This guy looks over, he knows why I'm there. And then I go back as soon as he clears the way. That's how you save your energy. That's group etiquette. You don't need to be locking up your brakes when people slow down. You drive the other riders behind you crazy. You drift and let the wind and friction slow you down. So I'm thinking about Paul. I don't know if it's going to show on camera. I looked in my mirror periodically. I made sure he was there because I can see him. And then from time to time, I would glance back to make sure he was there. I'm not looking for him. Yeah, right here, I'm pulling out. I told him, I said, pull out. And he's going to end the filming here. So we're done. We let them go right before the overpass, because if we had stayed there, we would have fried our legs for our long ride. They were just going so fast. So we left them. We're about 3 kilometers further down at this point. It's just Paul and I. And after riding with them, we just continue to ride. I'm keeping it around 40K. Well, the effort has, instead of being at the bottom of zone 4, I am back into zone 2. I'm right at the top of zone 2. So we're holding the speed we're holding, the same kind of effort we're holding before they met us. And it translates in these conditions to about 21 to 22 miles per hour. We don't really do things by speed. We dropped the effort back there were like 2 zones. So we went back to top of zone 2 instead of being the bottom of zone 4. So next week when we join them, we're gonna plan to just stay with them, warm up with them. We'll get more clips for you guys, and then we will ride with them into Honier and then disperse. I told Paul to pay attention to how he feels. As long as he's not pedaling squares, we'll stay there. It is important, as you watch me ride here, it's important to realize that over the years, I invested an inordinate amount of time on my bike fit for myself. That's how I got into bike fitting when I used to compete, because my coach was not into that. I wanted to make sure I was comfortable and efficient. It's something that you have to continually work on, because as you change those contact points, change shoes, whatever, you got to pay attention to how everything feels. Cleats can come loose, you got to pay attention to that. To be smooth and efficient takes work, and every experienced rider continually works on their fit. They are aware of that. So like when they get a new shoe, they have a specific ride where they take an Allen key with them and they go and get that shoe dialed in. It is not automatic. You want to be good at it, you got to invest the time. I cannot stress that enough. So they turned on Capitol Road, which is about probably 5 or 6 kilometers behind where we are now. We're headed straight on McCaleb Road, this is called, but it's the same 2978 that we were on. This is going to take us to Highway 105. And we're going to head east to go do those hills off camera. But we went ahead and pulled out so we could back off and resume and not fry ourselves for what we're trying to do today. So you've got to stay focused. There's an officer, there's a guy in a Corvette, Paul's going to tell me he felt guilty, he pulled over right away.
Guilty. The guy in a Corvette thought they were pulling him over.
He thought the officer was pulling him over, so he pulled over right away. And the guy in the SUV behind him took his sweet time to move over. But the officer was not after him. He had bigger fish to fry. He wasn't a traffic guy. It's hard to drive a sports car slowly, you know, on these roads that are wide open. Sometimes you're not aware, you know. Having a powerful car has its detriments. If you got a lead foot, it can be expensive.
I looked down when we were with these guys. It's a 172.
So Paul says that he looked down and at 172, his heart rate was 172 and his breathing started changing. So that may be his threshold at this point or on this ride.
Legends, we're at the lake. We're gonna get some clips of you all.
We've gone through the neighborhoods and we took Longmire, Highway 830, and we've come out to 1097. We're headed west in northeast Montgomery County, Texas. We are near Lake Conroe, the widest expanse of it. At this point in the ride, I'm taking my first gel. It just came on my mind. I figured, okay, let me get something in the engine. The day before these big rides, I eat a lot, I load, I carbo load, and so on the day of the ride, I'm really very well fueled. But you still need to top off. I go ahead and keep my trash. You can see the lake in the distance there. So don't feel like you need a group. A group is nice to have because if a group is accessible, a group meaning it doesn't need to be 50 people. A group could be a few of your mates. Paul and I are a group. Yeah, I'll pull for a while. He'll come through in a little bit. You'll see he'll pull all the way into the forest. Then I'll take back over. So you can have a group of two. Actually, 3 to 5 riders are ideal for getting a great workout. So you don't need a monster group to really get yourself going. But it's nice to have a group because it pushes you. It's nice to have somebody else. There are some mornings I get up, I don't really want to ride, but knowing that Paul is coming, I push myself out of bed and get out there, you know. And then the fact that I'm doing these clips for the channel, that motivates me to get out too. Because sometimes it is hard to get out. So we are entering the largest expanse of the lake. And in a few kilometers, there will be, one of the drivers will come by and blare their horn. And what I want to explain is that I'm not in the driver's head, but I believe that the driver was letting us know, I'm coming by, don't move over, because they don't really trust us. Like, you know, you saw earlier that lady wove left because she was in a large gear and she was weaving and almost bumped me. So some of these drivers are not a lot of these drivers are not cyclists, because a cyclist would not have blared the horn as they came by. So obviously this driver that did that wasn't a cyclist. The point I'm trying to make is it was not done with malice. The driver was blowing the horn because he was like, okay, he's within a foot of the line. I want to make sure he knows I'm coming by. So you may get that on your rides, and sometimes it may startle you. I'm not startled because I've got that mirror, the bar end mirror that you can see glinting on my bar end. It allows me to glance periodically and see the other road users. So I saw the car coming. I knew there was no danger, and I wasn't surprised by the presence of the car. The horn surprised me, but it did not startle me because I knew where that car was placed on the road because of the mirror. Now, if you don't have a mirror and you're not looking by, those kind of horns can startle you. And that's what I'm trying to explain. So if that happens, just move your head and look if you hear a horn. The driver may be warning you, maybe there is danger. So, you know, you'll not see me turn my head because I'm looking at the car the whole time when it's coming in my mirror, because I can see that. So if somebody blares their horn, look. They may be warning you for a good reason, but a lot of those situations where they blare their horn as they drive by, they want to make sure you don't change your line like that lady did next to me. And you guys know when you're in a group, other riders change their line. Some of them don't check. So this driver, not being a cyclist, want to make sure that I know, hey, I'm coming by, buddy. Stay where you are. So you'll hear that. That's what I'm setting it up, because I'm sure we get that, and then sometimes you remember that, as opposed to the 99% of drivers that just go by with no issues. Some of them even move over, even when you're on the shoulder, they go all the way over to the other lane. So most drivers and most people are dead. This is the one I'm talking about. So that was not done with malice. He wanted to make sure I knew he was coming. And that's somebody who's not familiar with cycling or not familiar with, you know, the fact that we know what we're doing, and he just wanted to make sure, you know, I'm coming by. Don't come by. Don't change your line. That's what I got from it anyway. So yeah, if I didn't have the mirror, it would have startled me, because you're not going to be looking back all the time. So you see where I am right now? I'm doing that because I can see that the lane is clear, so I give Paul even more room, because the wind's blowing from the left and in our face. So then when I see a car coming, I move a little more to the right, just slightly. That's why I like this mirror, because you really get to use more of the road without having to look behind, you know. But that was important. So somebody blares their horn, don't let it startle you. Look to see what they're warning you about. You know, we do get angry horns, so I'm not being naive. We do get those, not much you can do about that. But the majority of people out there are not mad at the world. And those people who are mad have their own issues that they need to work out. You don't need to give them company, because misery loves company. Don't encourage it. Just de-escalate and move on. Ignore it. It takes two to have an argument. Don't participate. They got an angry horn, let them go on by their business. You just keep riding. Now, in about probably 2 hours time, we find out I've been riding on low pressure, basically 60 PSI or less, because Paul's gonna notice that my rear wheel just got progressively lower and lower in the air pressure. I got a small leak in there that occurred last week. We ended up with a small flint about the size of a human hair that is in my tire. It kept puncturing my tube. But because the hole was so small, it would take hours for you to notice that you're losing air. But I noticed on this ride that I was working really hard, especially when we're with the WCC guys. But you will see in a few kilometers when I'm in the forest, I do a lot of this standing. The bike just felt sluggish. And I'm so used to the ride of the Vittoria that it never dawned on me that the air pressure was low. It wasn't low enough to where it bothered me, because I run 90 PSI anyway. And so by the time we got to Spring Branch Road, Paul said, nah, your tire's low. And then I stopped and squeezed it, and sure enough, felt like marshmallows. So we stopped and we took the time to investigate and found a small piece of flint. I've since discarded the tire because I continue to have issues with it. Once the Vittoria tires wear to a certain point, they're just more susceptible to flat, so I've replaced it. I don't have time to deal with frequent flats. The life, I got my money out of it anyway. The tread wear was down near where the wear marker says it's time to replace it. So we stop over here. So I'm gonna tell Paul that when you get off the bridge, that bump.
Man, that bump when you get off the bridge?
Yeah.
It's a 2% bump as you exit, and it just really messes up your rhythm. And with me dragging this sluggish tire today, I didn't know. I was just pulling through. You know, it's like, I felt like, oh man, maybe it's hot. Everything felt hard. And then once he found out and we fixed the flat, I thanked him. I said, man, thank you. Everything felt better after that. And you'll see when we get in the forest, because I just keep riding. I'm not aware that the tire is very low. It felt fine to me, but everything felt hard. So I kept pushing. So those little punctures that have those little pinhole in your tubes, they're the worst kind, because they indicate something small got in there, and it doesn't necessarily leave the tire. And in this case, it not only got in there, but it laid flat, aligned with the tread. It was a bear to find. Oh man, I tell you. It was smaller than the head of a needle. Amazing. So when you have slow punctures, you need to really inspect your tire before you put another tube in there. I usually switch my wheels during the week, so after last Saturday's puncture, I just hung the wheels up thinking we're fine. And then I use training tires during the week. I use my heavy tires during the week because I have very limited time. I don't want to deal with anything. I got a pair of bunt rigger tires. They're heavy. They don't feel great, but they ward off punctures. So that works for me. But on the weekends, I want my nice tires. I want to enjoy the experience. And those Vittorias, they're so supple. I love them. The G2.0 graphene. They used to call them the Corsa, and they replaced them with that one. So they're good. I've been riding them more than a year, so I got my money out of them. So this is where Paul takes over. So now I sit in, drink, settle down. In fact, I just shift to a bigger gear and just kind of, just let my body take a bit of a break while he punches the hole in the air. It just felt hot to me on this day. You can see, even though I've got a mesh jersey on, I unzipped it to just get that cool air because we were running into cool pockets of air in the forest. I'm glad we did not stop when those guys stopped because this was a very efficient ride. By the time it got to like 10 o'clock, I think, we already had like 3.5 hours in. And so we just turned south and headed back home. So we got back by about 1 something in the afternoon. We're done. And that's great. So had we waited, it would have been up to 2 o'clock. It wastes your time. And so when you're doing a big ride and other people are not, and they're messing around, just go. Because a while back, years ago, we'd wait with them, and then we wouldn't cover as much ground, but we'd use up all those hours. Because it did a lot of stopping. It just eats into, I want to be riding. So yeah, so we don't do that anymore. They start messing around, we just go. And that's even if you're riding by yourself. Just head out, do your ride, get it over with. During the week, I don't hook up with anybody. I clip in and go. There's no time for, I don't have the logistics to deal with arranging a ride with somebody else. Everybody's busy. We got things going on. So you just head out, get your ride in. 90 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever you got. That's another thing. Just because you don't have enough time does not mean you need to kill yourself. Your program should still have Zone 2 riding, even when you're tight on time. There should be rides that are not balls out all the time, because your body needs to recover. I'm coasting here. See, my heart rate has dropped nicely. It was great to see Mo. It's always great to see Mo. Mo says a Pokemon ride. They're catching everybody. Those of you who are Pokemon fans, my daughters are really into that. I remain seated, I downshifted. It's a nice little bump, 5%. So even though this road is busy, it's got a nice shoulder. It's wide enough, but you get a good workout. 1097 is no slouch. And if you're riding with those maniac WCCs guys, you will really feel it. The WCC boys. They don't back off, man. Those guys. So yeah, we're gonna be visiting. Put our fitness to the test. That's how you improve. If you're not riding with people who can drop you, you're not gonna get better. You know, periodically, either you go do a race or a Grand Fondo or something, hook up with a group that's fast for you periodically and stretch yourself, you know, if you're ambitious, if you want to improve. So you can see how smooth Paul is. Paul has worked on his cycling for years. It wasn't overnight. That started with a fit and then diligently working on technique. That's why I say we train, we don't ride. In a couple of kilometers, I think we're going to be at the forest. I'm not pedaling because I'm getting sucked around along behind Paul here. Now I start to pedal, the road's going to be going up. That's why I'm pedaling now. And I believe the entrance to the forest on this section of 1097 is up ahead at the top of this little rise. I know carbon wheels are the rave. I have a pair of carbon wheels on the orange bike, but I tell you, for some reason, I just love the aluminum rims. I ride them more, especially in training. But don't get me wrong, those carbon rims, when I'm on that orange bike, once I get above 32K, like 20 miles an hour, they're really easy to roll. They keep rolling, and so there is a benefit if you get them going fast enough. I'm looking into investing in a pair of Campagnolo Chamals. They're aluminum rims. I like them because I don't have to switch from training with aluminum rims to carbon and have to change my brake pads. So we turn into the forest here. I go ahead and take the lead. And this is where everything starts to feel really hard. I believe my tires are deflating more and more. I don't know if you can even tell. I couldn't tell, but Paul had been watching them and he's like, man, it's almost like when you have the little slow leak, they temper themselves and at some point they just poof go down a lot, because it went down at one point when we turned on Spring Branch Road and he said, nah, something's up. Then I bounced on the bike and it felt squishy. And then on Sunday, riding the same wheel, I had another flat after this ride, so I just chucked the tire once I got home. Yeah, because it was not warding off punctures.
Yeah.
So this bike I'm riding has a 71-degree seat tube angle, which allows me to sit 12 centimeters behind the bottom bracket for my long femurs and use a 2.5 setback seat post and be smack dab in the middle. So if it had like a 73, I would probably need like a 3.2 setback seat post and it wouldn't be smack dab in the middle. So it's important. So once I found out that I needed that much rearward positioning, I started getting custom bikes, because the stuff that they sell on the shelf, I'd have to get a 60 to get something close to there. Probably wouldn't even be a 71. This compact bike, I believe, is a 52 or 51.5, whatever it is. But my actual size in a conventional road frame is a 56. And most of the 56 bikes have a 73 if you're lucky. I know that even the Pinarello has a 73, the F8s. And then the top tubes are kind of short. A 56, most of them come with a 56 type tube. Well, that's 3 centimeters too short for me. I need at least a 59 to a 60 centimeter top tube, so I can run a 13 or 14 stem. On this bike, I'm running a 14 stem, and it's 59.5 or something like that. So the point I'm making here is, quit worrying about the branding of your bike. Focus more on the kind of angles they provide. And if you don't know what frames work for you, get a bike sizing done before you spend your hard-earned dollars and end up with a frame that cannot fit you or cannot be made to fit you. Because that does occur. Then you feel like you're falling off the seat because you're not sitting back far enough. You end up sitting on the bike like a toad on a lily pad when it doesn't fit you well. A couple of cars back there, they're not going that far. They're going, there's a little neighborhood probably about 500 meters down the way. One of them's going further. I think the guy in the blue is.
Yeah.
The second one is going into the neighborhood down the hill here. But this is how you want them to pass you. We're using half the lane, so they had to move over. They were waiting to get a bit of visibility around that curve in the hill before they made that move. The guy's turning to that neighborhood. We've been in that neighborhood. A bunch of dogs in there make a lot of noise. You know, we've checked it out before. There's a lot of patina on this section here. So what I do is I look around the curve. You can see in the distance whether there's a car coming or not. Then I decide to go. If there's a car coming, I will go all the way to the far right. Since the road's clear, I use the left because it's smooth there. But that side is smooth and the far right is smooth. We've been here enough times to where I'm aware of that. I'm trying to avoid coasting, so I shift up and just keep my legs going. It helps clear the lactate in your muscles. Keeps your rhythm going. This is where I start to stand because everything just starts feeling hard. And I believe that tire is getting softer. It doesn't feel soft to me, you know, so I just stand because the gear, it just kept, the bike started slowing down, so I stand to keep it going. And then plus there's a slope, 2%. You've got to practice that. If you're not comfortable standing like you saw me do, you need to practice standing on the downstroke without letting that bike come back. And then when you sit, you pull the bike under you so it doesn't go back to the rider behind you. Because a lot of people will stand and their wheel just backs up into the rider behind them. You should avoid that. I stand again because it felt slow. This is a 4% climb. Okay, that's why it felt slow. We're battling the wind, and once you come into the forest, doesn't matter which direction, it's up and down. I should call it the Sam Houston Lumpy Forest. I just love it. It's quiet. There's one dog that lives out here somewhere. He wasn't out today. He barks out. It doesn't come out on the road. The little guy. You get to know all the dogs after a while. In fact, on one of our routes, we recognize a new dog, and because he wasn't there before. This is the house on the left. There's a dog that lives there. He wasn't out today. We get to know where they live. They probably recognize us too. But you can see we had 2 cars pass us. Nothing after that. That's why we come out here. Yeah, we have to deal with some busy roads. I'd much rather ride here than in my neighborhood. You can't do anything in there. You stopping like a cheap watch every 10 yards. There's no workout potential. So get out of town. Go ride your bike. Find quiet areas. That's fun. I hate congested areas. You got wide acreage properties here, one owner for miles. So there's no volume, there's no business out here. You can really get a workout. High exercise potential. So this is zone 2. We're right at the top of zone 2. The effort is 2 out of 5. And we try to stay there because what ends up happening is you go faster and faster over time in your zone 2. And you don't only do zone 2 training, but it needs to be a high percentage of your total workout. And the percentage will be based on your goals and your ambition and then your talents. It's going to vary for each rider. We've got a rhythm going. I don't want to stop. So this part of the road is going to kick up to the right there. You have to find the appropriate gear. It's not about how fast we're going back there. It's about keeping the effort in the same zone and finding the ratio that I need to stay 2 out of 5. I downshift. You can see the watts are going up. This road goes up. Let's see, it's at 5%. I didn't realize it was that much. 5 or 6%. So that's good. It's a good workout here. Look at this forest. Look how beautiful it is. Spring is in the air. All the trees got leaves on them now. In winter, they were bald. And it's rained here, it looks like. See all the damp parts of the road? Look back there. Look at that canopy. This is the Sam Houston National Forest. We're on the northeastern part of it, heading towards Highway 149 on Mount Pleasant Road. Mount Pleasant hits another road that's called Hidden Forest Road. We're going to hit it in a bit. And our Hidden Forest Road would take us to 149. So these are the kind of roads you want to seek out so you can go do your specific workout or just enjoy the scenery, just ride socially or whatever. Because you don't have cars breathing down your neck every second like you do close to where it's more congested. I look forward to heading out in the country on the weekend. I've got a rhythm going and I just keep it going. I just stay on top of my gear. Don't be shy to shift. You're going to carry 9, 10, 11 gears, use them. That's how steady you're supposed to be in the saddle. Your back should not be rocking. That means your saddle's too high. You should be stable. I use my hips to steer my bicycle. I only turn with the bars, guide with the bars. You glide. You should be able to glide the bike. as I'm looking for. You see how I drifted to the right? You drift slowly. Everything is gradual, so you're not startling your riding mates. So we can spot inexperienced riders. So when that lady was moving, I could tell she was a bit unstable. I stand up, everything felt slow here. But now I see why, 7%. So you don't need to have super long climbs to learn how to climb. If you have a bunch of small climbs, string them together. That's what we do out here. I stand again. I'm trying to find a rhythm. Don't get me wrong, your legs will burn until you acclimate. I'm looking for the smoothest patches of pavement. It's kind of choppy, so I stood up, take the weight off the wheels. Every time I had a piece of pavement that had a lip, I would stand, because those lips feel like little curbs, and I don't like to take them seated, because they bump your wheels, and over time, you got to true your wheels again. I don't care for that. So take the weight off, stand on the pedals, dance on the pedals as you come across bumps. The bike is livelier, and everything just works better, in my opinion. And part of your training should incorporate riding out of the saddle and getting used to processing lactate out of your muscles. I believe Hidden Forest is in the distance. So you notice on this ride, we're not slowing down, maybe the turn or whatever, we're just riding. So we're riding for 6.5+ hours, just riding. We may stop for a nature break. We may stop at a store to fill up our bottles, and then we resume. You have to train yourself to not need to be stopping. Someone had asked a while back, do you guys stop to eat? No, we eat while we're riding. You shouldn't need to stop to eat. If you're uncomfortable because of your fit, invest in your fit. That's the best investment you can make. I don't care how fancy your bike is. If it doesn't fit you, you won't enjoy it. And arm yourself with knowledge before you make a major purchase. Don't depend on the bike shop to sell you the correct bike, because they're gonna want to. Most of them will want to move what they have in stock. Do your research. Know what size and angles you need. And then you can be more specific when you contact a vendor to sell you a bicycle. You're not going to be buying frames every day, so do the research. It's worth it. This is Hidden Forest Road. I checked right and left. Nothing's coming. And this is the newest piece. It's freshly paved. It's probably 4 or 5 months old now. Maybe more than that. You saw how I pulled that bike under me when I stood. Again, you got to be able to do that. So at no time did Paul come up on my rear wheel, and I did that twice because there were bumps and everything felt slow. And once the bike started slowing down, I would stand to just get that thing rolling. I'm doing it again. I want to keep the gear rolling, keep the rhythm. Look at this road. And this whole stretch I've been narrating, not one car came by. And this is Saturday at 9:51 a.m. So pick your spots, find your area. If you're new to the area, visit the bike shops, go to Garmin Connect, whatever. Find out where the other cyclists ride. That's how you find areas to ride in peace and tranquility. There's nothing better than a beautiful road with good form to enjoy. So I don't know what you did on Saturday, but this is part of what we did on Saturday. Happy Easter to all of you. But remember this, get your K's in, and no matter what, keep those doctors fired.
Yeah, man.
That's good, man.